For this investigation, we're going to be looking at the distance formula to find the length of a segment made in between 2 points. Now, if we have a segment here, segment AB, which is horizontal, it's pretty easy to figure out the length of that segment. We can just count the squares and see that it is 7 units. We also want to look, though, and see what happens to our x values when we count off those squares. Segment CD is a vertical segment, and again, we can count that off pretty easy and find that it is 11 units. Now we're looking at the y values and what's going on there. If we look at these other two examples, segment EF and segment GH, now it's not just a matter of counting squares to figure out the length of those segments. However, we can use what we've learned with Pythagorean theorem and make some right triangles. And if we draw vertical here and horizontal here, we're making right triangles, and now we can use the Pythagorean theorem. Now we are just looking at counting squares. So this is 3 and this is 4. So now we can use Pythagorean theorem to find segment EF. Over here we have a segment that is 5 and this segment that is 12. But where do these numbers come from? The 3 and the 4, the 5 and the 12. Is there a simpler way that we can do this? Remember above that we said our horizontal line was our x coordinates and our vertical line is our y coordinates. Same thing with our right triangles. To find the length of this segment, we're taking the difference between our x values, and to find the run, finding the distance between the x values. To find the rise, we're finding the difference between the y values, just like we do a slope. So here, difference in our x values, so we have -3 to 2. And here, to find our rise, -3 to 9. So what does that mean if we have point A here with coordinates x1, y1, and B here with coordinates x2, y2, and we're looking for the length of segment D made in between points A and B? Well, we just discovered that we can find our length of this segment here, the leg of this right triangle, by finding the difference in our x values, x1 minus x2. And we can find the length of this leg of our right triangle by finding the difference in our y values, y1 minus y2. And now using Pythagorean theorem, we can set this up where we find the length of this leg, x1 minus x2 squared, plus the length of this leg, y1 minus y2 squared, and that will give us the length of our segment, d squared. That is the distance formula, comes from the Pythagorean theorem. Another way we can write the same thing, because what we're really interested in is the length of segment d, not d squared. So if we take the square root of both sides, d is equal to the square root of x1 minus x2 squared plus y1 minus y2 squared. And so now we can use that new distance formula to find the length of these 3 segments made here.